What are floating point numbers or literals? Floating point numbers or literals are a way to represent decimal numbers. Any number with a decimal point or fractional part is a floating point number, and these numbers are used to store and manipulate real numbers that can have a fractional part. Look at this example. 12.0 is a floating point number. 12 is not a floating point number. Minus 18.5 is a floating point number. Minus 18 is not a floating point number. 0.0 is a floating point number. 0 is not a floating point number. All positive numbers with a decimal point are floating point numbers. All negative numbers with a decimal point are floating point numbers. 0 with a decimal point is a floating point number. Let's look at some real world examples. Temperature measurement. In this case, 35.7 is a floating point number. Financial calculation. $100.75 is a floating point number. Measurement of distance. 8.3. 8.3 is a floating point number. Weight of an object. 64.3 kgs. 64.3 is a floating point number. Let's use some floating point numbers at Python shell. 10.3, 16.9, 1.001, minus 7.056, 0.0, 5.0, 8.3, 9.1, 10.0. All these numbers, they have decimal point, so they are floating point numbers. Thank you.